Hello, and thank you for joining us today for the GNet TV News Project. We're continuing with a special series we've been running on the opioid crisis, hearing from ordinary Vermonters about how this epidemic has affected them. A few weeks back, Linda Joy Sullivan, the state representative from Dorset, arranged for us to meet with 5 residents from the North Shire to hear their stories about how opioids had changed their lives. She is also planning on introducing some legislation in the State House in the near future that will hopefully tackle and in some way remediate the scourge of this disease. Anyway, today we're going to be hearing from Gretchen, one of our North Shire neighbors whose life was changed by contact with opioids.
Hi, my name is Gretchen, and I'm thankful to be sitting in the Wilson house where Bill Wilson was born. And I'm also thankful that on Thursday, August 31st, there's going to be a national rally on Washington called Fed Up to bring awareness and ask for federal assistance on the opiate and heroin epidemic that is sweeping our country. In 2013, there was a horrible accident across the street from where I worked in Rutland, Vermont. And Carly Farrow was tragically killed in a car. And her father was also sitting outside waiting for her. And this was a drug-related accident. And through that accident, it caused me to go to a neighborhood community meeting to find out about a heroin or a Suboxone program opening in my community, because I wanted to know how I could help, because I wanted no family to go through what this family had gone through. So when I went to this meeting in open house to hear what it was going to mean for the community, one of the things that the speaker said that stood out in my mind was, we could all be one car accident or broken ankle away from being a heroin addict. And I said to myself, that couldn't be true. That couldn't happen to my family, to someone I loved. And then we got the call. I'll never forget the day we got the call that my son needed help. He lived across the country, and thank goodness he had wonderful insurance and was swept away to a great rehab. And we thought that he was doing really well. He got a new job, but the addiction continued and came back. Now we're back in Vermont, and finding help was impossible. Finding a detox center was crazy. We toiled over lists and lists of insurance places to get our son help, and we couldn't do it. It was one closed door after the next. And I thought, my husband has really good insurance. How can we not get our son help? Thank goodness right now he is in a facility in New Jersey because we could not find help here. We need long-term rehab facilities. This is a brain disease. We need detox centers. I never want another family member to hear the word, there's no room for you, there's no bed available. People need help and want help, and we do not have the resources. Once again, this is a disease of the brain, and one that we travel by ourselves because it's one of shame and embarrassment. And I've said to my loved one, I'm so sorry you're going through this. I now attend Al-Anon, and I didn't know I needed it my whole life. Because when I was a child, my brother returned from Vietnam as a heroin addict. And I didn't realize that that cycle would continue in my life. So it's time to stand up and speak out and get people the help they needed, because we're all precious and we deserve help. Thanks.
I'm very eager to get some type of legislature out there that is going to create the statutory presumption of physician and pharmaceutical company liability. I believe that we have too many prescribers, too many drugs. Refills are out there. We need to stop the pills. I think the only way to do that is to come up with strict liability and to have strong enforcement on those that should be held accountable. not on the victims, but I think that there needs to be funds that come back from the pharmacies and the doctors if they are not following the law on prescribing. I think that those monies should be used to go into education, but as I've said before, not just say no education. I believe that we need to have education where students, young students, are actually repulsed to touch drugs. They need to stay away from the bullying concept, from the gangs that are infiltrating the schools. I think that the governor has taken a strong step forward by saying this is an epidemic, it's in Vermont, and we need money and we need to do something, and I applaud that effort. But I think the lack of accountability, the lack of liability and the presumption of the actual physician and pharmaceutical liability needs to be addressed. I think we cannot let the doctors who have participated in some of our laws as it is, they have a conflict of interest. They have a buy-in into what they can prescribe. So I think now we need to hold people accountable. And that's where we need to focus. And that's my hope on putting together this bill. Of course, I'm sure I'll get pushback, but I intend on doing it anyway. It will actually, I do intend to try to get it out in January. My thought is that it will regulate how prescriptions are out there, who should be prescribing. Definitely it should be doctors, MDs, and once they know that there is some accountability, and it will put controls on the pharmaceutical companies as well. And then once we get accountability, there will be enforcement if they do not follow the law. So there has to be a monitoring in place. There has to be regulation on who can prescribe, how much can be prescribed, what can be refilled, and why they are using a specific drug to treat pain if there is not the absolute need for that drug to be prescribed.
Are you satisfied with the rate of progress the state has been making in the last 4 years or so since then Governor Shumlin's famous address to the state kind of like woke everybody up into the awareness of this? Are we on the right track, or are we just kind of like treading water here with this whole problem?
I think we're treading water. I'm not satisfied. I don't think that it can be cured. I don't think this is an easy fix. I think we're in quicksand. I think that it's going to take a faster pace now because I think that the current administration has made it a priority and taken some action. I don't believe that there is a cure-all. And I'm sure that it's going to take just as many years as it took for the epidemic to hit. But we're dealing with commercialism. We're dealing with my bill, the proposal, if I can get it out there, would be an economic liability. We need to fix this. Am I happy about the progress? No, I think we've just taken the first baby step. And I think that awareness and victim input is important, but I think it's the professionals in the pharmaceutical companies that need to step up to the plate and assist for it to actually have any type of impact on a cure. And as I said, I don't think it can be fixed, but we can definitely chip away.